Good day, everybody. It's Andrew here, and welcome back to my channel. We've got more huge updates from Mitch McConnell and Joe Manchin, as Joe Manchin has signaled he's willing to work with Democrats on a deal, but only if some changes are made. So we're going to discuss those details. There's also some rumors circulating that Joe Manchin might be running for president in 2024. Some people think that being a moderate is exactly what this country needs. And we have a huge update from Mitch McConnell as he is basically trying to convince Joe Manchin to flip to the Republican side, meaning Democrats would lose their majority control in the Senate, which they currently have. So let's discuss the details. All of this will have a massive impact on Social Security changes and the next stimulus package. If Democrats lose control of the Senate, they will no longer have the power to use budget reconciliation to not only do the next stimulus package, but also do Social Security increases in 2022. So before we jump into it, do me a quick favor, hit like, hit subscribe, and share this channel with anyone who you think might find this helpful. This is a community for seniors, and my job here is to be a voice for you and be a voice for seniors to make sure President Biden keeps his promises to increase Social Security benefits, increase SSI and SSDI, and even approve a stimulus check for seniors in this next stimulus package. So with that said, thank you so much for being a part of our community. And if you really want to support my work, subscribe to my second channel. The link to that is going to be in the comments of this video. And on that channel, I'm going to be giving away stimulus checks. We're going to have some updates as well. And we're also going to have some fun things like playing bingo live, so you can play bingo with me and play with the community. We're going to play casino games, things like that kind of mixed in to have a fun community that's not just based around news. But with that said, we do have some important news, so let's jump right into it, folks. A lot of big updates to come. Of course, Mitch McConnell is inviting Joe Manchin to join the Republican Party, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Now we have a lot of headlines saying that Joe Manchin is considering running for president in 2024. Now, let me know in the comments, folks. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think Joe Manchin would be good for the country? Honestly, personally, here's the thing, folks. When it comes to stimulus, he's terrible, right? He doesn't want stimulus checks for seniors. He doesn't want to do another round of stimulus checks in general for everybody. And when it comes to Social Security benefits, we're not sure where he stands because historically, he has always said he supports Social Security, he supports Medicare, he supports expanding these programs and increasing benefits. But then he's saying something and doing something are two different things, right? And he says that, but then he never votes to do these things. He never wants to approve more stimulus. He never wants a stimulus check for seniors. Then he's constantly worried about increasing the national debt, but he's okay with increasing the national debt to approve physical stimulus programs like rebuilding roads, bridges, and highways, but then he's not okay with increasing the national debt to approve a stimulus check for seniors, or to use that money to lower prescription drug prices for seniors as well, things like that, providing more affordable housing. So it's almost like look at what he does, not what he says, right? And based off of what he does, it doesn't really seem like he supports increasing Social Security benefits. And that's a problem, right? Because right now we have a lot of Democratic leadership who all support increasing Social Security benefits. President Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, who is basically the Finance Committee chair in the Senate, who is in charge of writing these packages, they all support increasing Social Security benefits. Then we have Joe Manchin, who he hasn't said he doesn't, but doesn't seem to really support this. But with that said, the point of this article is basically saying that the country needs a moderate. With all this division, all this extremism, one of the reasons President Biden won is because he basically ran as a moderate, right? He said, we're going to end the divide. We're going to end the partisan games between Democrats and Republicans, slamming each other and making things look like it's a soap opera, for God's sakes. And that's what President Biden ran as. But so far, there really hasn't been a whole lot of bipartisan work. I mean, that being said, there has been some. The physical stimulus plan was a bipartisan plan. They did do the national budget, which was done on a bipartisan plan as well. But a lot of these things are still really a partisan effort. And some people are saying that if Joe Manchin runs for president, he would kind of run as a true moderate and genuinely try and compromise across both sides of the aisle. Now, that could be a good thing and a bad thing because some people say, well, then nothing's going to get done. You're just going to be in gridlock for the next 4 years. At this point, the only way to get things done is on party lines. But guys, with that said, these are rumors floating around. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would say at whole, it might be a good thing for the country, but when it comes to Social Security, I don't really think he's going to be an advocate, folks. So that's just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, what exactly does Joe Manchin want in this current stimulus package? Remember, he said he wasn't going to do the package. Then he backtracked and said, you know what, we can go ahead and do it, but we're going to have to make some changes. Well, a couple of things he wants is he wants to lower the monthly child stimulus payments and how much those payments are. And he also wants to create stricter income thresholds so less people qualify for those payments. And on top of that, he also wants to repeal Trump's 2017 tax cuts, which lowered taxes on the middle class, but most of the tax cuts went to the top 1%. So he wants to take those back. The problem is Senator Kyrsten Sinema does not want to do that, right? So if this is something that starts to develop, we're then going to have to go back to Kyrsten Sinema and try and convince her to get on board. So this isn't like a straightforward, hey, let's do this, boom, it's going to get done. It's going to get messy. But this is what he wants. He wants to lower the monthly stimulus payments for families. He wants to lower the amount of people that qualify for those, and he also wants to roll back the 2017 Trump tax cuts. So this is what we're currently monitoring, what's currently going on with negotiations. So we should have a lot of updates. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will keep you posted as things develop. Now, we have a quick update from Mitch McConnell. He's talking about the fact that they're basically trying to convince Joe Manchin to flip Republican, and if that happened, Democrats would lose their control in the Senate, and they would only have 49 seats in the chamber, meaning they would not be able to do another stimulus package because they need 50 votes to use budget reconciliation. So with that said, if you'd like to stick around, let's take a quick look, see what Mitch McConnell had to say. I also want to point out that this would also affect Social Security benefits because if Democrats plan to increase benefits through budget reconciliation as well, they're going to need Joe Manchin's vote for that as well. So this will have implications not just on the stimulus package, but on Social Security benefits as well. Again, I don't want to scare you guys. This probably isn't going to happen, but it's worth paying attention to because it has happened in the past. This happened to President Bush, George W. Bush, when a Republican senator actually flipped Democrat. So with that said, if you'd like to stick around, let's take a quick look, see what Mitch McConnell had to say. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.
I know everybody's asking you the question about Joe Manchin, so I'll ask you that question. I know you're not going to break any news, but how's this recruitment effort going?
Well, it looks to me like they're trying to run him off. You know, last Sunday, the White House called him a liar, and it sort of underscores, Larry, the core problem here. There aren't any moderate Democrats left in the Senate, with the possible exception of just two, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Joe, for example, is the only pro-life Democrat left in the Senate. They've all gone hard left. They've all signed on to Bernie Sanders' vision of a socialist American future. And so Joe is really out of place. He represents a very red state, a very different kind of state from today's Democratic Party. You know, back when Barack Obama was president, we still had some moderate Democrats, but they've all disappeared. So that explains why he is so literally out of place. He's done the country a great favor here at Christmas by killing this bill. Obviously, Schumer's not going to give up. They're going to kind of keep going back and going back and going back. It reminds me of that movie Fatal Attraction. Remember Glenn Close?
Yes.
Just kept coming back. That's the way.
That's a very risque reference, Senator McConnell. Yes, sir.
It's sort of like the reckless taxing spill. You know, every time you think you kill the damn thing, it keeps coming back. And so I'm not going to predict it's over forever. But look, I think the fundamental thing here is surely Manchin must recognize that he is completely in the wrong camp. If he came over to our side, we have moderates. We treat them well. We have people like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. Now, we don't call them liars. We don't try to run them off. There's a place for moderate in a Republican conference in the Senate. Do I expect Joe to do that? No, I don't expect him to, but he'd certainly be welcome.
Well, I mean, have you offered a Republican Senator Joe Manchin could still be the chair of the Energy Committee, which he presides over now?
We've never started negotiating over this because he's never indicated he was willing to do it. But I think clearly there'd be a place for him on our side that he would find satisfying, and he'd be in the middle of a lot of friends rather than people who are attacking him on a virtually daily basis.
A month or so ago, maybe 3 weeks on this show, your colleague, Senator John Thune, and I were talking about this. I said to him, I said, John, you're a big deal. You're in the leadership. Are you wooing Senator Manchin? And Senator Thune said to me that he had offered to mow Manchin's lawn every weekend. I just wonder if that offer is still on the table. It could turn the tide.
Well, look, we talk to Joe all the time. This isn't the first time he's felt out of place. It's just the most obvious time with a bill of this magnitude. But look, regardless of how that ultimately plays out, Manchin has done the country an enormous favor here at Christmas time by killing this bill. It is exactly the wrong prescription for what America needs at this particular time with this raging inflation, 40-year high inflation rate. This is exactly the wrong thing to do, and I admire Joe Manchin for killing it, at least so far.
Yeah, well, I've been a big supporter, Save America, Kill the Bill. He's been a hero. Now, as you said before, sir, the Democrats are going to come back, Schumer's going to come back after the new year and try to throw something out on the board. I don't know what it's going to be. I wonder what you're thinking about this. When will they put a new Democratic substitute in? What might it look like? Is there any chance of getting a regular order, you know, so you have committee hearings with experts and let the public see in full view all these crazy programs? What are you thinking about the next Schumer move?
Well, regretfully, I'm not the majority leader, so I don't get to decide that. But if I'm in Schumer's position, he's still going to try to come up with some version of this monstrosity to get Joe Biden to buy. He's also got to sell it to Kyrsten Sinema, who, as you know, Larry, is opposed to raising the corporate rate, the individual rate, and the cap gains rate. Those were all significant accomplishments when you were in the Trump administration and we passed the 2017 tax bill. Sinema is very reluctant to change the tax rates. So she has a different view of what this bill ought to ultimately look like. So she and Manchin are not exactly Siamese twins here on this issue. They have different concerns. Schumer's got a tough job. Look, the core problem is here, they didn't have a mandate to do any of this. A 50-50 Senate, a 3-seat majority in the House. The American people didn't vote to turn us into a socialist country. And that's why they're having a hard time selling it.
Senator, are you thinking in terms of the Republican Senate strategy next year, leading up to the midterms? Have you or anybody else thought about putting up a Republican substitute on the Senate floor? You know, let's say make the Trump tax cuts permanent. Maybe we should reduce social spending, cut out all these crazy energy subsidies and a lot of the woke stuff that's in there. And, you know, if you had a Republican substitute, might that be a strategy to run on? You might even get Joe Manchin to vote for the Republican bill, since he's going to vote against the Democratic bill.
Well, unfortunately, he voted against the 2017 tax bill that you and I worked on, which produced the most prosperous America in February of 2020 we'd had in 50 years. So our goal in the minority is to try to protect the 2017 tax bill. It was the right thing to do for the country. These rates do not need to be taken up. and we do not need to go on a reckless taxing and spending spree. So protecting the best of what we did over the last 4 years is job one for us. If we can get that through that to 22, then what I say, Larry, is we can finally make Joe Biden be the moderate he promised he was going to be in the 2020 election by having a Republican House and Senate in 22. We can guarantee he'll be a moderate for the rest of his term.
So you don't expect to have a Republican substitute for the bill. You're just saying, let's just hold them off until the cavalry comes in November.
Well, I don't want to substitute our version of a $2 trillion spending. In other words, I don't think we ought to be engaging in priming the pump anymore. We already dropped $2 trillion on a party line basis on the economy earlier this year. We don't think we need to have an alternative to this. We think the things that were accomplished in 2017 had achieved an economy that was the best in 50 years. It's not broken. These tax rates don't need to go up. We don't need to do more rampant spending. We don't need to add to the $29 trillion debt. We need to stop doing that.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. Amen to all that. I'm just saying a substitute. Now, this may not work. I'm just saying if you had a Republican substitute, a plan, like years ago, Newt Gingrich had a plan with the contract with America. That was a long time ago. I'm just raising the possibility where you would cut spending, you would cut social spending, you would cut out all the Green New Deal subsidies, and you would preserve and make permanent the Trump tax cuts.
Yeah, all of that is possible and achievable if you're in the majority and have a president who's willing to sign the bill.
All right, I get it. I guess last point, what is your strategy, your messaging strategy, Senator McConnell, for the midterms, okay? Let's assume we're going to get through the winter. We're going to stop, we're going to kill the bill or kill a second bill as we killed the first bill. We're going to save America. Going towards the midterms in November, what is your preferred strategy, your preferred messaging strategy?
If you look at American history, a midterm election 2 years into a first term is a report card on the performance of the administration. Inevitably, whether we had a 10-point program or not, the American people are going to give Joe Biden and this Democratic Congress a midterm report card. If the election were held today, they would fail. I think the problems are so intractable. They've created so much incompetence. For example, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, that they're going to have a very hard time getting a passing grade a year from now.